Welcome guys, welcome to our channel. Today our topic is number system. Uh, Before talking briefly about the numbers, let's first look the hierarchy of the number system. So first, let's talk about the hierarchy. Numbers are generally divided into two types: imaginary numbers and real numbers. Imaginary numbers are written in the form of a plus or minus ib. For example, 3 plus 2i is an imaginary number. 5 plus 6i is also an imaginary number. 7 minus 8i is also satisfying the format. So this is also an imaginary number. Similarly, 5 by 2 minus 3 by 2i is also an imaginary number. See here a and b can be either an integer or a fraction. It can be anything, but anything that can be written in the format of a plus or minus ib, then it is called as imaginary number. And one more thing about imaginary number is here the coefficient of I should not be equal to 0. That means b should not be equal to 0. Let's look what happens if b equal to 0. See, if we have 3 plus I and the coefficient of if b equal to 0, then it will become 3 because 0 into something is always 0. So it becomes the value of this number will become 3, and 3 is not an imaginary number. It will become a real number. And again, in this format, a can become 0, but b should not be equal to 0. Let's see, if 0 plus 2i, there is no problem in calling it as imaginary number, so this can be an imaginary number. So in the format a plus ib, b should not be equal to 0, but a can be 0. Let's see some example and the purpose of imaginary numbers. So like how the imaginary numbers concept came. Suppose if we want a square root of a positive number like root 4 or root 2 or root 9, we know that the result is always a real number and a known number. But what if we want square root of an imaginary number like like negative number? What if we want a square root of negative number? Uh, we cannot directly say the square root of this number, so we have to let's find out the square root of this number. So this becomes 2i, which is of format 0 plus 2i. So this is an imaginary number. So in order to find the square roots of negative numbers, the concept of imaginary numbers exist. I think everyone is clear about imaginary numbers. Now let's talk about real numbers. Real numbers, uh, in imaginary numbers, if b equal to 0, then it will become a real number. If b equal to 0 here, then it will become a. So it obviously become a real number. So any number, any imaginary number where b equal to 0 is called as a real number. Real numbers are again divided into two types. Rational numbers and irrational numbers. Irrational numbers are nothing but a number which cannot be represented in p by q form. Is called as irrational number where p and q are integers. So let's suppose if If we take 1 by 2, it can be represented in the format of p by q, where p and q are integers. Like one is an integer and 2 is also an integer. So this cannot be an irrational number. If we take root 2, it will become 1.414. That means 1.414 by 1. This is also in the format of p by q form, but here p is not an integer, it is a decimal number. So this can be an irrational number. So root 2 is an irrational number. Similarly, root 3 is also an irrational number. Root 8 is also an irrational number. And pi is also an irrational number. But there is a misconception that pi is equal to 22 by 7, which is a rational number. Pi is exactly not equal to 22 by 7. Pi is approximately equal to 22 by 7. 22 by 7 is a rational number, but pi is not a rational number. Pi is an irrational number. That's about irrational numbers. Now let's talk about rational numbers. Rational numbers are numbers that can be written in the format of p by q. Any number that can be written in the form of p by q are called as rational numbers. Rational numbers are again divided into two types: integers, fractions. Fractions are again divided into three types: proper fractions, improper fractions, mixed fractions. Integers are also divided into three types: positive numbers, negative numbers, and also zero is included in the integers. Positive numbers are also called as natural numbers. Examples of natural numbers are 1, 2, 3, 4, and so on. Examples of negative numbers are 1, -1, -2, -3, and so on. Here the natural numbers along with zero are called as whole numbers. I mean whole numbers is equal to 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and so on. The set from 0 to infinity is known are called as whole numbers. Now let's look at what about fractions. Fra Fractions are usually in the form of p by q. I mean integers are also in the form of p by q, but here q value of q is equal to 1. So -1 by 1 will become -1, 0 by 1 will become 0, 2 by 1 will become 2. So the rational numbers where the value of q equal to 1 is called as integers. The other rational numbers are called as fractions. Fractions are again divided into proper, improper, and mixed fractions. Proper fractions are nothing but uh, if the numerator of the fraction is less than denominator, then those are called as proper fractions. For example, 2 by 3, 1 by 2. Here 2 is less than 3. That means numerator is less than denominator. P is less than Q. So this is a proper fraction. Similarly 1 by 2. Here 1 is less than 2. So this is also a proper fraction. Improper fractions are fractions where P is greater than Q. For example, 3 by 2, 7 by 3. Here 3 is greater than 2. That means P is greater than Q. And 7 is greater than 3. So these type of numbers are called as improper fractions. Similarly 5 by 4 is also improper fraction because 5 is greater than 4. Now let's talk about mixed fractions. Mixed fractions are nothing but whole number plus fraction. Number plus fraction. Like 3 plus 1 by 2. 3.5, that equal to 3 end of. Similarly 5 1 by 6, that means 5 plus 1 by 6, that equal to 5.100 by 6, 17 something, 5.17 something like that. So this is also a mixed fraction. So anything that can be written in the form of number plus fraction is called as mixed fraction. I think the hierarchy of the number system is clear to everybody. Let's look at into it again. Numbers are classified into imaginary and real numbers. Real numbers are again classified into rational and irrational numbers. Rational numbers are again classified into fractions and integers. Integers are classified into positive, negative, and a zero. These are combinedly called as whole numbers. These are called as natural numbers. Fractions are again divided into proper, improper, and mixed fractions. So I think the hierarchy is clear to everyone. Okay guys, if you want to take any screenshot, please take. Now let's end the